It's giving mother with a side of revolution. Howdy ho, and welcome to Whole Chat, a boy love and girl love podcast that is too horny about all history, even the fake stuff. With me today is someone with a long history of being adorable, Keels.
Gross. I deny this claim. I do not have a long history of being adorable, but I have a long history of loving history and getting all the dates wrong.
You know the general flow of time of history, which is fine.
I do. You can tell me about an era or a period or a person, and I'll probably gab to you about them. But ask me to remember a date, there's a reason why I couldn't make it as a historian. It's such a shame.
It's fine. Time's a construct. As long as you know what happens before or after certain things, you're totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big deal. Well, before we get started, I have a quick shout out to Lindsay Ishihiro, the author of Mother Lover, for giving last episode a listen. We are beyond touched, and I personally will be riding that high for a long time. Like, I think about it pretty much every day for at least a couple minutes of like, wow, they listen to my podcast. That's so fucking cool. Of course, if you haven't bought a copy of Mother Lover, do an indie creator and yourself a favor and pick it up. It is out right now. You can go get it. This episode you're listening to right now, it should be Mother's Day or around Mother's Day. Do yourself a favor. For Mother's Day, get Mom's Kissin'.
Oh, yeah. Get it at your library. Request it at your library, too. Like, you don't have to buy it, but you can put another good book in your library if you want. Also, I got to read it. It was so wonderful. I had put off reading it again because my wife requested that she get to, tell me about this story before I get into it. But I was chomping at the bit. So when we got it in the mail, today, basically for an hour we were both on one side of the couch with each of us with their own book, absorbed. So it was wonderful. It was my first time reading it. I'm probably going to read it again later, but online, since she does have it at her website as an option for you to read. Mm-hmm. It's truly wonderful. Please buy this. It's so nice to have a sapphic read, and it just goes well.
Mm-hmm.
It goes well. The problems in it and the issues and the solutions, they're all so wonderful. It's so good. It's so healing. There's so much in it. It's a book for anyone. Seriously, buy this book for your mom for Mother's Day. She might learn something.
Yeah, hey, maybe your mom might love to think about other moms kissing too. Do what you need to do. Also, letting you know, if you pre-order, you will get shit early. So
yep, because we pre-ordered and got it.
I got the book
a week.
3 days early. 3 days before it was supposed to release.
So freaking wonderful.
So just keep that in mind. Pre-ordering is great, especially when it's books.
Yeah, that's the cheat. Pre-ordering.
So I said in the last episode that I was going to do Omegaverse on Mother's Day, and I fucking meant it. And especially in this case, I'm getting to go over one of my absolute fave Omegaverses, because it recently got an official English print version, and y'all need to read it.
This is also one that I've heard about. I was a little afraid of this one because Omegaverses can have some trifling in it that I'm just not comfortable with. So my wife does me a favor, and she reads them first and then lets me know if I can read them.
We did. That is what happened. I read all of this probably a couple years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe about a year ago. I think it's been a hot minute since.
A year ago.
It's been a hot minute since the last couple chapters came out.
Yeah, because I still haven't read it yet, because this was one we decided that maybe we needed to let it finish before I touched it.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you guys about Kogu no Omega, or the English translation is Palace of the Omega. It is a 2021 comic by Tsuyuhisa Fumi, who's actually a duo. It's not one person, it's two people.
Nice.
They both took one part of each other's names and then just smashed together to make a new name.
Like a ship name.
Yeah, but they're, artists. They
could have a ship name.
They do have multiple books out together.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they like to make stuff, is together. They share one Twitter account.
That's cool.
They are very cute.
That's cool.
But it's a story that combines Omegaverse with historical fantasy and with art that is unreasonably gorgeous. There is no birth in this one, but someone does become the mother of a country.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do, like, all ABOs require a birth for you to like it, or?
No, but it's Mother's Day, so theoretically somebody should be a mom, but, close enough.
That's fair, that's
Mother
fair.
of a country counts.
We could just talk about Mother Lover again. I'm ready.
Hey.
I've read it now, and I have more insight. But no, I do want to hear about this one, because this one has also been on my list, because you've been also excited about this one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, ABOs can just, like, they can be a little dark in terms because of the subject matter. So I just let my wife check it for me before I read it. Because again, I was a wild teen and I scarred myself with boy love and girl love. I just don't want to hurt myself anymore.
Well, also, this one has a plot point in it that a lot of people feel a certain kind of way about until they get to the rest of it. So that's also why I wanted to do this, because I know that there are other people who are going to see this. They're going to see the cover. They're going to open it up and then be like, what the fuck is this? This is a good way to get over that bit, no matter where your feelings lie. So I want to kick off and just show you the cover of the first book, because just looking at that, it's so good. That's what immediately got me. Is I was like, oh wow, they put their whole pussies into this.
It's gorgeous.
It looks so good. It's unreasonable how good all the art looks, for sure. And then like even when you open, like the first image that you see when you open it up.
So that's like the color spread.
Yeah.
That's
All okay. Already kicking off. Everything's beautiful. Damn. All right. Let's get into it. The comic starts from the point of view of our main character, Elia, as he gives us an explanation of how the ABO hierarchy plays out in this world. Firstly, that alpha-omega marriages involve the placement of a collar around the omega's neck as a physical and metaphorical symbol to ward off other alphas. And maybe it's kind of like a gilded slave collar, but who's to say?
So instead of like a fucking wedding ring, they're like, here, my love, a studded collar.
Yes, and it's typical in apparently a lot of cultures, but their whole thought is like, if we give you the collar, then no one can bite your neck, then everybody knows that you belong to me. But it has a funky connotation.
Bad taste.
Yeah.
You got bad taste in your mouth.
Like, there's a level where you could be like, if you know for sure the Omega's like, hell yeah, I'm into it, you're like, okay, if that's their choice. But this feels weird. Because also, you can still bite your Omega.
Yeah.
Like, that's still a thing. You can still just bite your Omega, but they're like, we'd rather you put a collar on him first. And like, just bite him. Instead of putting a collar on him.
Well, in this world, can you bite an Omega multiple times, or is it like, no?
No, you can't.
Okay.
So no, we're still following very strict, like, ABO rules of, like, you bite the Omega, that Omega is tied to you forever kind of thing. So the collar seems performatively uncomfortable, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
Yeah.
Do we need to explain what an ABO is?
If you do not understand what ABO is at this point, I will link a little thing explaining it or whatever. I feel like if you're listening to this, you've touched an ABO or have at least a general idea. Just so we're clear, we're not cowards in this house. ABO means somebody is getting fucked in a fucky way. It is not going to be, oh, I'm a little Omega woman and my big alpha husband's going to come and take me. I'm an alpha female and I'm doming my husband with my big old alpha cock. There's no reason to do straight ABO unless you're doing something fucky about it. Mm-hmm. That woman who's like, I own Omegaverse. Fuck her specifically.
Oh my gosh, who tried to like sue and legalize?
Do not come for my fucky ducky shit. I wanted to be fucky ducky on purpose. I don't want you here.
Yeah, this was Star Trek's series first, anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kirk and Spock
invented this weird shit.
Kirk and Spock frauded so that we could have deep anal fucking in the form of APO. That aside, point is, we have our main character Elia, and he's describing, yeah, they just put a collar on us motherfuckers to show that they own us as their partners. Uncomfortable, not my favorite. Secondly, alphas are regularly born to royal families, making them the rulers of this world.
Ah, the 1%.
Mm-hmm. And thirdly, that omegas inhabit the bottom of the food chain. Humans that are susceptible to becoming victims of various crimes, the slave trade, etc. If it's terrible, an omega's probably dealing with it. Being born as an Omega means there's no guarantee of making it to adulthood for a large variety of reasons. And even the lucky Omegas, the ones that get marked by an Alpha, essentially become property to another human being. Shit's bleak as far as Eli is concerned. The world for him as a Royal Omega is hateful and unforgiving.
Now, is this just his country? Like, is this his view of his own country, or is this the world?
We are going to get into that. We're gonna address that directly.
Because, like, it would just feel so tragic if it was the whole fucking world.
Right. No, so we're going to get into that directly. That's actually one of the main things that gets addressed in this comic.
Okay.
Elia has been sent by his father, the king of a small northern kingdom, Rameladal, to the kingdom of Hanu, to become the king of Hanu's bride. He recalls his father, a man who rarely spoke to or acknowledged him for the entirety of his life, ordering him to fulfill his duty as a royal, despite of his low place in line. So, like, Elia has, I think they said at one point that Elia is one of, like, 19 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 13th in line, behind, like, whoever would be next in line or whatever. And then he has more siblings that were born after him. None of those siblings have the same mom, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So Daddy just keeps pumping and dumping and making a new royal.
So Daddy's Elon Musk. Daddy is Elon Musk.
Daddy's trying to make a legion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you on that one. And also hates his kind of, not trans kid, but his other gendered kid. You're absolutely right. We are there. Okay. But Elia always knew this would be his fate. As an Omega, he has little else to offer. That, I don't believe that's true, but that's Elia's feelings of, I have nothing going for me in this kingdom, except to be used as a pawn.
And is this like a formal education he's getting to? Like, is there, like, I don't know, a teacher, a nun, a parent just also being like, yeah, you're worthless Omega?
It's not so much a formal education, it's just what everyone fucking says.
Okay.
And I question how much a formal education he actually had past a certain point. Because the handful of flashbacks we do get of Elia, he is isolated and very much by himself. We know that he got some education up to a certain point, but we'll get more into it.
Yeah. I'm just so curious about this one. I find ABOs really fascinating because they normally tackle hard shit. And, like, it's good shit. I just honestly, and I'm gonna be real, I just really want to get through it without, like, being jump scared by rape. I really hate rape in a story, which is what my wife checks for me because I just can't handle that.
It is my weird minefield to navigate as well, because sometimes you're reading APO and I know going in there's a fair chance we're having something fucky sexual happen, and I just have to, like, hold my breath through it and be like, well, we'll see what happens. And sometimes we're having a great time after that, or it, like, makes sense, or it, like, adds to the story. And the other times I'm like, this is somebody's kink and I totally respect that, but I gotta go. And so I understand ABO can be some of the most interesting content, or some of the most, like,
traumatic.
The artist definitely has her dick in one hand, and you can tell.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just extremely horny.
Yeah, sometimes there's dick in hand positive, and other times it's dick in hand derogatory. I think if you think about some of the comic, like, especially American comic artists that have drawn, like, overly sexualized women for, like, superhero stuff, you know they have their dick in their hand derogatory.
Yeah.
Because they're not even hot.
Yeah, those impossible poses that they put women in that, like, for a long time it was a meme to make fun of it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Peter Parker's girlfriend, like, pushing her boobs out while she's holding her arms underneath him, and she's, like, baby pouting, and it's like, oh my god, no one's really doing that at home. The
breasting boobily, you know the artist has a dick in their hand. It's fine. Yeah. And sometimes it's fine and sometimes it's not. But we catch up to the present, where Elia is en route by ship to his new home, the Kingdom of Hanu. It's a beautiful sight to behold, and something that he's only seen pictures of in his books, and the polar opposite of his homeland. So he's coming from, like, snowy, like, you know, 90% of the year they're having to wear, like, wools and stuff like that, to Hanu, which is tropical adjacent, maybe has a tinge of, like, maybe being South Asian and kind of in that area.
He's going from, like, Swiss to Hawaii.
Not to Hawaii, more like, I would say very close to India in a lot of ways, because the architecture and stuff. Yeah, let me actually...
Ooh, show me some buildings.
See if I have. So that's Elia's dad.
Oh, it might as well be like a Viking Nordic look.
It's got a mixture of that, but you also kind of feel like there's other parts of like Northern Europe mixed in there. And this is what Honey looks like.
It feels like he's going from like Jon Snow land to India.
Yeah, because there's some other kind of island adjacent feelings to it as well. But that is where we're at, and then we'll keep going. The ship docks, and he disembarks, greeted by a fleet of women in long gowns. One woman stands in front of the others and welcomes him, introducing herself as Suya, the chief handmaiden to the consort. Ilya says nothing, giving off an air of indifference. Suya inquires about Ilya's attendants, his entourage essentially, because if you are a royal, you should be sent with other people to like take care of you, check on you, whatever.
Like, yeah, you should have a couple people with you, like at least a nanny, a couple handmaids, whatever.
Yeah. But anyone past the 10th in line are given no attendance, so he's got nobody. He is completely
So
by
they're
himself.
just like, fight for your life, kid.
Yeah, they're forced to live their lives without any assistance and potentially with little to no contact, even though they're royalty. That means there's no one who would go to bat for Ilya, and infers that no one would miss him if he were gone forever. The handful of people that traveled along with Ilya made that incredibly apparent by booking it back to the boat before Suya can even finish her introductions.
Jesus, can Ilya even speak this language? Is he coming to a place not knowing the language as well?
That is the one thing that we don't address is the language barrier.
Okay.
But you get the feeling that there's either some sort of common that's spoken across the different countries, or that he did learn some of the language. Because he seems to have no issues speaking with Suya and stuff like that.
Okay.
But here's a picture of Suya. She is my favorite. I will get into why she's my favorite later.
Yeah, I have actively heard you gush about her.
She's best girl.
Because, like, I know that there's a sequel to this comic, and you're like, she's in the sequel! Ah!
Yeah, she's in the sequel, and they gave her a knife.
Yeah!
But that's her, and then this is a good image of Ilya in his northern clothing, so, like, heavy cloaks, heavy kind of clothing in general. Mm-hmm. And then there's the two people that came along with him, and then they, book it back later.
It's interesting to see, like, that he's in all these dirt clothes, because it looks like they're trying to make him imposing when he's really not an imposing figure.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's just drowning in furs and, like, heavy clothes.
And it's even kind of fucked that they kept him in that the whole boat ride down.
Yeah, because it got hot.
Girl, I know.
Yikes.
Suya, unfazed, escorts Ilya into the palace, giving him a mini tour of the main areas and a more extensive look at the rear palace, Ilya's new home. And I'm using rear palace specifically because the text says Kokyu. When I'm reading it, the Japanese characters say Kokyu, and that translates to rear palace. I know they say like harem a lot in here, but it's kind of the same thing. If you're an Apothecary Diaries fan, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That all the concubines live in the rear palace. This is what I'm referring to it to, because that's what I've got.
Okay.
Yeah, so Suya escorts Ilya into the rear palace, and then she asks if it's to his liking, to which Ilya replies that no, it's not. But it does show off just how wealthy this country is. Because they must be teeming with riches to decorate a glorified birdcage for a worthless Omega to this extent.
Damn, boy.
Yeah, and then he continues like, it's nothing like his home, a kingdom barely scraping by that sold him for the opportunity to lighten their load and bring in some cash. So he knows his marriage is all for show, and that his only purpose is to stick around as a figurehead, and he tells Suya and the handmaidens as such, warning them that declaring fealty to his worthless self will get them nothing in the long run. So, some of this is thoughts, some of this is him saying it with his whole fucking chest. This is what I'm trying to figure out, that Ilya is capital C cynical, and is a physical manifestation of Linkin Park's Closer. He's one step closer to the edge, and he's about to break. Yeah.
What's the Omega kid's name again?
Ilya.
Yeah, he is,
yeah.
He's going through it.
Uh-huh.
Yangy.
Suya, bless her, takes Ilya's crass words in stride. She kneels in front of him and explains that in their culture, Omegas are not worthless, but rather messengers of their god Ratiti. Omegas are miracles bestowed upon their kingdom, and it is the greatest honor of her life to serve him. She is earnest as fuck and gives Ilya a bright smile. Ilya tries not to be moved. Like, he immediately looks away like, whomst are you talking to?
Do not make me cry. No. Like, yeah, no. Like, this is really nice that he gets to come to another culture, and they're just like, no, dog, we think you're cool.
Yeah, so legitimately it's even established a couple of times that Omegas are often, you don't see a lot of Omegas because a lot of them have been whisked off to, like, be in monasteries or to become nuns or to, like, find some other holy path forward because they are so precious to them.
Okay.
Yeah. Suya and the handmaidens take Ilya to the baths to freshen him up and help him relax from his long journey. Very typical shit you do for a new addition to the royal family, and something that he is 100% not accustomed to. And it'll be even more intensive tomorrow before the wedding ceremony. So they're just washing him down, like giving him the pamper treatment, and he's like, there's too many people here. You're doing too much. Why are you touching and doing all these different things? Why do you have to dress me up this much? Because he's not used to it. He's basically been taking care of himself.
He's like, I'm not used to having anything but a solo bath. Why are there like a team of people giving me a rub down?
Ilya tentatively asked about the king. Nothing specific, just a general idea of what he's like. Because he knows absolutely nothing about him. Not his appearance, personality, his age, nothing.
Shit, so he can be getting married to an old man and he has no idea.
Yeah, he has no idea. His father likely didn't find this information to be necessary to tell him. So his dad knows.
Okay, about how old do we think he is now, Ilya is?
Ilya is confirmed to be 18. And I think it's a pretty fresh 18. So I'm pretty sure it was like, oh, you're 18, I can finally ship you off.
Okay. Kind of waiting for him to get to that legal age so he could do something.
Yes, and that was like, you happen to have turned 18, I got an opportunity, get the fuck out of my kingdom, don't come back. Suya is taken aback by this news, but doesn't hesitate to answer Ilya's question. King Khalid is like the sun. He's strong, just, sincere, and beloved by his people. And she's certain that Ilya will come to care for him and all of the citizens of Hanu. Bull fucking shit. Ain't no way he'll accept this situation in full. He'll pretend to be the perfect obedient little doll, but the king in this country mean nothing to him.
Yeah, Ilya is just like, I don't trust shit.
At the Lincoln Park intensifies in the background.
Yeah. Everything you say to me.
Yeah. These are thoughts that he's still mulling over later that afternoon as he lounges in a private area of the rear palace. The room is open to the nature surrounding it, and the plant life is truly banging. It's dense and lush and filled with flowers he's never seen before. Not that there's a ton where he's from, but like he's getting to see like super exotic tropical wildlife.
He's getting to see tropical flowers, tropical plants. Mm-hmm. I bet that's an experience, especially if you're used to snow.
He hears a rustling amongst the foliage, and a well-dressed boy emerges from the leaves. The boy stares at Ilya with his already large eyes impossibly wide, seemingly in awe of the man before him.
Oh.
And, like, the little boy's dressed really cute, too. I'll have to show you. Because he's just, like, dressed from, like, head to toe in clothing that looks barely like it's the right size for him.
I just want to pick him up.
He looks like a little baby. He's so cute.
He's very cute.
He's just a little cutie. Ilya, determining that he must be of the royal family, lightly scolds him for being there and encourages him to leave. But the boy remains in stunned silence. So he at this point is pretty sure it's got to be like a prince or somebody of the royal family, because how did he get into...
nice.
He's dressed nice. How did he get into the harem? They can't just let anybody in there. It's like closed off unless you have permission and all that. But it's clear this kid isn't going anywhere on his own, so Ilya sighs, stands, and offers out his hand to escort the boy from the rear palace. The boy rushes forward to grasp Ilya's hand and holds it firmly. As they walk, the boy rediscovers his voice and speaks, very simply asking, "You're Ilya?" Perhaps the young prince wanted to sneak a peek at him. How cheeky. And like there's this little scene where he's being really sarcastic with the kid, and the kid is like, "Yes? What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh no, you don't understand sarcasm. How little are you?
You've
Where's
never
your
had
mom?"
sarcasm before. Well, that makes sense if he's a royal, even. Like, I can't imagine you'd be sarcastic with a royal. Like, in real life, I just can't imagine, like, they would fully know what that is.
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, I remember it was some journalist talking about how he actually got to meet, like, a prince, and he was a guest of honor, and, like, he meets the prince, and they're, like, a teen, and he's thinking, oh, it's a kid, but then he's like, no, it's not. Because this child speaks to them, and they are just super well spoken, super like they have been reared to be a different being.
Yep.
And that it was just kind of mind blowing for them, because like hearing that surprised me too, because I was young as well. But like even I think if I'd heard this as an adult, it would have surprised me, because like that's such a strange thought to think of, like a young person being reared to be super well spoken, super polite, and like seeming otherworldly in a way, you know?
You should keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the two cross paths with a couple of handmaidens. They themselves remain unseen, but they can hear the ladies' conversation from their position. And man, are they talking shit about Elia.
Oh, fuck you.
It's mostly run-of-the-mill xenophobia, but they also express how bad they feel for the king and hope that he can hold out long enough for a child to be born so he can finally be free of Elia.
Elia is cute, pretty, and rude. Mm-hmm. Leave this little cunty boy alone.
He's perfect, I think. But yeah, and Elia just always seems to have this face where his brow is like slightly furrowed, which kind of gets into like he seems miserable.
Yeah, he looks miserable. He does not look happy, and he looks like the way his face is drawn, it looks like I just have no choice but to be unhappy, so I have to deal with it. Like, he's contented to be unhappy. He's like, hey, at least I'm alive.
Well, aren't you going to get mad? The boy asked. But Elia is more than used to this kind of gossip. It's likely not the worst thing he's heard this week, so he just brushes it off. Let them gossip if that's what they desire. They finally reach the end of the promenade, and Elia shoos the boy off, sternly telling him not to come back, before turning to return back to his chambers. Behind him, the boy says he'll see Elia again soon, catching Elia off guard. But by the time he turns back to face the kid, he's already gone, and Suya is calling for him. Well, whatever. The kid was just spouting kid nonsense. Ain't no way he'll see him again, especially considering the boy's not even a prince. Because the king has no younger brothers.
Oh, so like, the person he's gonna marry is just a king, no siblings.
He has older siblings is what he's been told, but he has no younger siblings. So who the hell is this little kid? What royals do we have left to choose from? The next day is indeed more intensive as far as beautifying Elia goes. It's his official wedding day after all, so he must be dolled up to an impossible degree. This, of course, causes him great annoyance. By the time his attendants have finished, he's draped in several layers of patterned cloth and adorned with enough jewelry to rival a jewelry store. He looks beautiful to say the least, and his outfit perfectly complements his complexion. Compliments of the king, it turns out. So the king has been like, he should be wearing XYZ for our wedding. I think it'll look good on him. So, yeah, picked out everything for him. And that just makes him angrier. But, yeah, this is this little angry face.
He looks so pissed.
Like, so you're just like, you look stunning. And he's like, everything rattles and I can barely move.
Can you show me more of those damn earrings he's wearing?
I don't think I have more of the
full earrings.
But the earrings go from his ears down to, like, his torso.
Yeah, I would be pissed, too. That looks heavy as fuck. Because that's what I was looking at. I was like, oh, my God.
It is. It's terrifying. But also, you look hot, bestie.
Goodness.
It's all a bit much, but confirms for Elia, at least, that he's nothing more than a show pony. A thought he shares with Suya, who's becoming more concerned about his mental state by the hour.
I feel bad for Suya. You just got yourself a trauma king, you know?
This is day 2.
Yeah, like, oh boy, you just got yourself this, like, traumatic little prince, king, whatever he's gonna be now.
Yeah, it's day 2, and he's still desperately trying to convince everyone that he's worthless and knows his place in the world. But when you grew up in a country where omegas are so despised that your own mother kills herself in shame over your birth, you're gonna feel a certain kind of way about yourself. Yeah. Can't imagine my mom being like, oops, sorry I birthed this. I gotta go forever. Yeah.
Was his dad an alpha?
Yes.
Because that's the norm, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So, is it kind of weird for an omega to be born in a royal family?
Yeah, they don't, from where he's coming from, they don't like that. That's like a big no-no.
That's like a no-no. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around all of it because it's got a lot of political intrigue in it, and I'm just trying to make sure I'm hanging on to the important stuff.
Yeah. Poor Suya can do nothing but listen to Elia's intense self-deprecation with concern and somberness before escorting him to the main hall to get married.
She's gonna take up drinking.
If she could, she would. As he enters the hall, head slightly bowed, Elia vows that he will perform his duties as expected, but he will never relinquish his soul. That is the one thing that he is allowed to own is his own soul. He's never getting rid of that. So with renewed resolve, Elia raises his head to finally behold the man he will be married to, the king of Hanu, who is actually the boy from yesterday.
I was pretty sure.
Yeah. The king of Hanu is a 10-year-old child.
Whee.
Ilya's eyes widen in shock, a reaction he can't help considering how insane of a situation this is. The steadfast anger he felt at his own situation fades away to pity as he realizes this kingdom has made a mere child shoulder the mantle of a king. And worse, he's been saddled with an older Omega from a foreign land. So now he feels bad for this kid, like, oh shit, I thought I got the short stick. You poor kid, you don't have a chance. This is so unfair to you.
I bet this story gets shit on because of the age gap. Like, in history, political marriages like this happened a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that, like, I don't know, assholes love to point out is, well, people married 13-year-old girls all the time. Yeah, but in traditional history, in most cases around the world, they also had someone who kept them apart so that they did not have sex until they were actually 17 or up. So yes, they got married young, but it was often done as a political move or like, hey, we both need money, let's combine our households. There are even instances where they would marry the children and then the children just went back home with their own parents. They did not go live with each other until like 20 or something.
It was about building bonds within your community oftentimes. And some people still do that where they, like now it's more often that they betroth two children for a long time and then they get married when they're of age. But it used to be you had to get them married so that you could legally get some shit done. But then, they, you know, maybe go on some very little chase dates to get to know each other. Yeah. But it's not meant to be creepy and gross. The reason why we hear about the creepy and gross is because horror stories interest people. But this was happening so often. That's why those horror stories traveled. It's because people were like, oh my god, this person's a tyrant, a huge, terrible asshole of a person to do this incorrectly.
Yeah, it's really, like, people acknowledge it is really fucked up to, like, marry a child or do anything with a child. But back in the day, it was also very common that children got married and then that stuff happened later. Like, and that's one thing that always gets left out by people who are still trying to push that, like, children should get married to adults or something. Yeah. And it pisses me off because it's like, y'all didn't fucking do your homework. There's so many cases out there where it's like, okay, yes, this 20-year-old married a 10-year-old. He did not reunite with them again for like 6 years. And yes, I will say 16 and 26 is still inappropriate for them to then, like, become a married household. But it was not as heinous as, like, people would have us believe. Yeah, like, and there were heinous incidents, but that's why those stories are told again, because they are heinous.
And I can point out even more heinous examples from American history, and it was not a political thing. It was literally selling off their child to the highest bidder. So this very much has there's a lot of foundation built around this to make sure that this is kosher as possible for both parties involved.
I'm fascinated by something like this, but I can imagine that this is like, ew, he's marrying a child.
This is the point that people got worried about. Yeah.
But it's also a goddamn political marriage. They're being forced to do it. What choice does Ilya have?
Exactly. And honestly, what choice does the king have as well?
True. Like, we don't know how. I'm sitting here going, how did he become king? Did, like, he get backed by Ilya's country and they were like, hey, you now have to marry one of my children and we'll support you as king? Because holy shit.
There's a lot of questions here. As the king performs their marriage rites, only one thought crosses Ilya's mind. Poor kid. And so the whole marriage thing, it is, like, there's a little call and response, like marriage vow would be, but this one involves a lot of, like, you are going to become blah, blah, blah of the country. Let me see if I actually have part of it. But that's the kid in his little marriage garment, but
it's
also
so funny. He looked so different dressed up for the wedding because he was so adorable and tiny.
And now he looks like a little kid trying to do too much. A little bit.
He looks like a burdened little kid. It's actually interesting.
Yeah, so even what gets said is he says, like, I hereby proclaim you my consort and mother to this kingdom. Vow to faithfully serve your king, the mortal vessel for the holiest god Ratati, for all of your life. And then he puts the collar on him and then gives him, like, a, like, ceremonial, basically, like, peck on the corner of his mouth. And then they're done. Yeah. And then they're officially married.
Yeah, and I can see Ilya the whole time because they have his thought bubbles and he's just like, He's just thinking poor kid the whole time.
Yeah, like, this shit sucks.
Yeah, and it sucks. He should also feel bad for himself. Because 18 is young, man. You're still a youngin'.
Yeah, he didn't get to have much of a childhood, and then he's just immediately forced into this.
Ugh, I hate how 18 in a lot of places is an adult.
Yeah. But this is the end of chapter 1. And this is the point where I knew this was either going to be a banger or the most depressing shit I've ever come across.
I mean, yeah. What a setup.
It's so good looking, though, that I kept thinking, I can give it a few more minutes, right?
It is very beautiful. And, like, I would totally get sucked in if I even attempted to read it.
Mm-hmm. Chapter 2 is set 3 days after the wedding and opens with Elia being awoken by Suya and his handmaids announcing an official royal visit from King Khalid. So if you're unfamiliar with old royalty, it was usually required for the king to have a separate chamber from his queen or consort or his harem or whatever. So it becomes a big song and dance then for the king to come visit. He has to like put in a request for it or announce like, hey, I'm going to go visit the rear palace or my harem or whatever. And then there's like fanfare kind of around it.
Yeah, this has a very French twist to it.
Yeah, or like even, again, kind of even like, if you've seen Apothecary Diaries, I know I've got the Apothecary Diaries brain rot, but like if you've seen it, same kind of thing where it's a big deal when the king comes by to visit the concubines and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
and,
you have to schedule a night with a concubine or schedule a
and
night
attendants
with the
come
queen.
with you, and attendants stand outside of the door and like listen to you fuck. You know, it's a whole thing. So the ladies wake up Elia at the ass crack of dawn, dress him in gilded traditional attire, and then escort him to a comfortable looking room that opens to the outdoors. Khalid, the king, is already there, waiting for his consort with an adorably serious look on his face.
Oh,
just like, hey, I'm here, and I am the king, and yes, drop off my consort.
He's an adorable little kid already.
Uh-huh. Elia bows to him and greets him properly, the handmaidens doing the same. Khalid walks over to a long cushion and plops himself down before dismissing all of the handmaidens, saying, like, I require only my consort's company, like a little big man.
Oh, man.
Once the ladies have left, Khalid assures Elia that he can relax and act like normal. A thing Elia absolutely doesn't do, instead opting for overly flowery language dripping with fake enthusiasm.
Boy, you're talking to a child. He's gonna blow raspberry at you.
Khalid scrunches up his face and calls him on his bullshit, because he knows it's fake, and Elia has already spoken casually before. It also didn't bother him in the slightest, because he's well aware that Elia didn't choose the situation either, and they should be allowed to be chill when they're alone together. I mean, add to that, Khalid's barely had time to breathe since taking the throne, so now that he has an avenue to relax, the harem, he's going to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's speaking maturely and using all the right terminology, but he is also absolutely being a child about this, and it's really fucking cute.
I mean, it sounds cute. Like, it sounds adorable.
Because the moment he, like, flumps on the couch, I'm like, yeah, you're precious. But I love all his little faces. So yeah, this is where he's like, just talk to me normal. That's weird.
No, like, it's so funny.
His little scrunch. Yeah, he just keeps flopping further into the, like, little cushion that he's on, like, I'm so burdened, and I'm 10. And it's adorable. Almost as a response to this cuteness, Elia sees an opportunity to tease him. Specifically, he sits next to Khalid, leans close, eyes heavy-lidded, and asks if relaxation was the only reason the king came to see him. And then he makes a comment about, like, aren't you here to bite my nape? There's silence for a beat.
You're mean.
There's silence for a beat. Khalid looking wide-eyed at his consort before Elia snickers and pulls away. Who'd let a little kid bite their nape? Not Elia, for certain. And he tells him this, like, you're too young for this, you little baby.
You're so mean, but, like, you're so mean.
Poor Khalid is embarrassed, but he did say Elia could do as he pleases, and that seems to include being an asshole.
Elia, you are an asshole. But, like, again, he was raised in a very stifling place. I kind of feel like he would want to take it out on him.
Yeah.
And then, like, to circle back around to more history and tragedy again, there are tons of cases, like, where a queen marries a younger person, and, like, they were mean and violent to their spouse because they're burdened. Like, you know, they were forced away from their home country, away from their families, or in a new space. There was a lot of, like, there's a lot of problems with political marriages like that.
Yeah, and this isn't going there. They're gonna figure their stuff out.
Yeah, no,
at this point,
I'm just like, this already makes me feel a little sad just because I know some historic stories about, like, such as these.
Yeah, there's his little embarrassed face is very cute. I love Khalid.
Yeah, he's so very adorable.
He's just a little guy. He's the there's so many.
There's so many shocked faces. You're just showing me all this kid's little shocked faces.
And then we'll get to that. But there's so many opportunities where Khalid just looks so cute. Because it is just like, hey, we gotta do this. What do you mean? So he's acting like an adult all the time. Then suddenly, hey, wait. It's very cute.
You're bullying me. I kind of love it that he's just bullying the king a little bit.
Yeah, I mean...
So mean.
18-year-old, that's what you're gonna do, for sure.
What a teenager.
Elia also makes it clear to this child that he will perform his duties adequately, but he will never belong to anyone, not even King Khalid. Khalid just pouts and calls him a twisted cynic for putting on such a big show prior to this. But yeah, that's just what Elia is like. As cute as Khalid is, Elia is still an amalgamation of cynicism, sarcasm, and childhood trauma, so he is very capable of being a jerk.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time.
Suya was right about Khalid, though. He really is as earnest, sincere, and charming as she said. He's incredibly lovable and has the air of a natural leader. He's also the exact type of person Elia wants to stay away from.
Why?
Oh.
Just stress, trauma, all the above again?
Are you ever too afraid to open up to someone?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
It's like that of an abused person. It's like you're afraid to trust again.
Yeah, because he's been... Like I said, there are scenes of him in book 1 where he is, like, trying to go out and play with some kids in the snow. Mm-hmm. And the moment he, like, tentatively approaches, they all turn their backs on him. And these are kids around his age.
Mm-hmm.
Likely
but they all know.
They all turn his back on him. He comes near some, like, servants within the castle. And he's just walking, and they notice him, and they turn and run away. Mm-hmm. So it's this consistent reinforcement of nobody wants to be around you.
How miserable.
And so he's truthfully, like, afraid of Khalid. If I had to put it any certain kind of way, I think he's afraid of him at this point. But yeah, so he wants to stay away from him, which is absolutely not in the cards, as Khalid finds every opportunity to fuck off in the rear palace. Every day he shows up to spend time with Elia, playing games, talking, just lounging, whatever. It's boring to the point of driving Elia insane, or so he claims. Something he mentions to Suya, who sees this entire situation differently. It's obvious to her that the king is developing a healthy level of affection towards Elia. Elia, out of pocket as always, questions how much affection a virgin can bestow, which is a wild thing to say about a king, much less a king who's a manifestation of a god.
Much less a king who's 10.
Yeah, I was just like, what's a little virgin gonna... How's a little virgin gonna show me affection? And she's like, excuse me.
He's being a total mean girl about it.
Uh-huh. Suya is scandalized, though not as much as she should be. And I think at this point she's getting used to
She's
how
getting
Elia
used
talks.
to Elia, oh my god.
But she informs Elia that it is illegal for people to have sex under the age of 18 in Hanu. And God or not, Khalid is beholden to that same rule.
So no one's going to touch him.
No. That fills Elia, and probably you too, with relief.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, calling back to history, some child marriages would do this thing where they had bed sharing once a month.
Blech. Yeah. Sorry.
Again, there were a lot of tactics that were done to prevent the kids from having sex. But there were a lot of gross adults out there trying to control shit. And so there was times where they'd be like, yeah, once a month it's required for them to sleep in the same bed together. But they're both 10, and they both are just like, okay, I guess we're going to sleep now.
Guess we're having a sleepover. Yeah.
Right? History is fucked up.
But I also really appreciate how relieved Elia is. And weirdly enough, probably for, like, on Khalid's side of things, like, obviously I don't want you to be in a sexual situation. You're a 10-year-old boy. But I think there's a lot of it coming from Elia as well of, I don't have to be in a sexual situation. Because I don't think Elia is ready to be in a sexual situation either.
Like, he very much feels, to me, like a person who's still lashing out. Like, he's a hissing cat.
Yeah.
Who was like, I had terrible owners before. How do I know you're not gonna like abuse me again?
Yeah, he's weirdly acting a lot like a child himself in a lot of ways.
He's rebelling.
Yeah. So as fucked up as his marriage is, these people have some level of common sense at least. It also reaffirms his thoughts that Khalid is just pitying him and curious about an Omega foreigner. He'll eventually lose interest when the shine wears off. That's what Ilya immediately pivots to, like, okay, yeah. No worries, I'll be abandoned.
That's what he wants.
That's what he's thinking is going to happen to him.
Okay.
Yeah. Suya's beautiful face is going to develop wrinkles from how often Ilya says something to make her frown.
Poor Suya.
Later, Khalid returns to the rear palace with a tiger cub in tow.
Okay.
Presenting the cute little beast as a gift for Ilya. Why? Well, they're the chosen companions of their god, and it will bring Ilya luck, protection, and companionship. But also because Ilya told Khalid straight to his face that he was boring, so here, have a kitten.
Wait. Who gave who the kitten?
Khalid gave Ilya a kitten.
But Ilya told Khalid he was boring?
Yeah, he at some point said, like, oh, you're so boring to hang around with.
So that's why you brought him a kitten, so you wouldn't be bored?
Yeah, Khalid's like, well, then have a cat. Then you won't be bored, right?
Okay.
You have a little companion now. And I'm like, stop trying to push him away. He's going to take it seriously. He's going to take it seriously and not push back. Yeah. Ilya beholds the kitten with an air of annoyance, but is absolutely cradling him like a baby in the next scene.
He's like, I don't want this cat. I want this cat.
I'm just going to hold them on my lap. It's great. Ilya and Khalid talk as they are being served lunch. The king is curious about Ilya's homeland, Romeladal. Supposedly, it's a nation of artisans, specializing in technology. So, what about Ilya? Ilya explains that, by law, all children are required to learn the basics of mechanics, engineering, etc., but that at best, the most complicated thing he can craft is a watch. So this is what I'm saying, is he did get this level of education of how to craft
build
certain things, but he didn't likely get as much of an education as he could have, and so there's also this kind of, like, how much did you learn about court life and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Are you kind of at a disadvantage in all this? Probably a little bit. At this point, we're given another reason why Hanu is the best country. Even the royals are allowed to pursue their passion. Khalid's father was the king, but also a scholar. So if Ilya wishes to pursue becoming an artisan, it is totally within his rights to do so.
Nice. So, like, he can be more than just a royal.
Yeah, he doesn't just have to sit around and be the consort. He can do something. He can go and learn something, start a new task. If he wanted to farm or something, they'd probably, build some farmland in the middle of the palace and, like, let him do that.
Okay.
This does lead to a little argument, as Ilya, again, puts himself down, citing his secondary sex as a reason and refusing to explain further. Like, I'm an Omega, so there's no way I can do that sort of thing. I'm not even going to think about doing something for myself.
He's brainwashed to feel belittled.
Mm-hmm. This is the sort of thing that would make a baby king feel like a dumb child, and Khalid expresses as much. So the whole, like, you don't even want to have a discussion with me. You think I'm dumb, you think I'm sheltered, and you think I'm boring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ilya does think he's sheltered, for sure. But he apologizes, because Khalid has never once looked down on him, and he is actually interesting to talk to. And so they have, like, an actual... Like, Ilya has an honest moment for once, like, no, you've never treated me like shit. I don't want you to be upset. You're fine. Like, yeah, he's mentally thinking you are sheltered, but he's like, that's not his fault. You're a king at 10.
Yeah.
Weird.
And also, sorry, Ilya, but he might be just sheltered because he's in a vastly better kingdom than yours.
That also, yeah, like, he doesn't see all the bad shit, because honestly, the kingdom's doing pretty fucking well.
Yeah, the kingdom sounds great.
Yeah. Khalid is still a tween, though, so he requests a watch to be made for him. As a real apology.
That's cute.
Annoyance exudes from Ilya in waves, but he agrees nevertheless. Suya just snickers in the corner.
Good for her. Take some enjoyment out of this.
When I tell you that Ilya agonizes over completing this watch, too. Like, he stays up late multiple times to get it perfect, while the tiger, Thalj, lays in his lap. It's obvious he's really starting to care for Khalid.
That's nice.
Things are finally beginning to smooth out between Ilya and Khalid. They're understanding one another and developing a mutual affection. They're still spicy with each other, and Ilya's a tease too, but it's nice. There's a scene where they're out walking together, and they're looking at the ocean, and Khalid's explaining like, oh yes, many of my people come to enjoy, this watering hole and blah 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 when it's the height of summer, but now as we're approaching fall, like it's a little bit less busy. And then he sees a pretty flower and he picks it and is like reaching out to hand it to Elia, and Elia's like, okay, and kneels down and is like, put it on me, mostly just to make Khalid get really blushy and like, okay, I'll do it. And
You're
I'm like,
so
stop being mean.
Just teasing this poor little boy.
Just stop being mean. But every time just being mean. Oh yeah, this is when he was like, you're mocking me, his little cute face. And then this is the scene where he's like, yeah, place it for me.
You're a brat.
Uh-huh.
Elia, push him in the water.
Uh-huh. I agree. Push him. You can push Elia in the water at any time.
Just push him in the water.
Mm-hmm. But as good as things are going, of course, the drama's got to start.
Mm.
Another afternoon of Khalid hanging with Elia goes south in the most innocent way possible. Khalid is cutely messing around with Falj, and Elia is looking on with affection. Like, he's finally starting to get like, he looks like such a kid right now. I'm glad he's having opportunity
he's starting
to
to form a friendship with this child.
Yeah, and he's glad that he has opportunities to still act like a kid whenever he comes to visit and stuff, right? Elia falls asleep since he's been staying up late, totally not obsessing over the watch. Khalid, captivated by Elia's sleeping face, comes closer, leaning forward until their lips touch. It's super chaste and exactly the sort of thing a kid would do with a crush.
Mm.
Elia's eyes open, sending Khalid into an immediate panic. He stutters through an apology, trying to explain himself, though I'm not sure he fully understands what he did or why he did it. This is like baby's first, oh no.
Baby's first, I like someone.
Yes. Unfortunately,
God.
this... Yeah.
No, sorry, I'm just I'm thinking of my first crush as a child, and it was also on an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to hold her hand all the time. I was so little,
mm-hmm.
8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a teacher, and the teacher caught on quick and was like, well, you can hold my hand, but you're like a daughter to me. Like, very much put that boundary down of, you're the same age as my daughter. And I didn't understand anything of what I was doing, but that was definitely like my first little crush.
Yeah, we're not dealing with Becky from Spy Family, who's got a whole life planned out with Lloyd.
Becky from Spy Family?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that little girl. Sorry, no.
She's trying to wife him.
I don't... But even Becky's cute little kid crush on Lloyd is so adorable. Mm-hmm. Kid crushes are cute, but it's so cringy, too.
Yeah. Well, and also, unfortunately, this simple thing sends Elia into heat.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's taking his suppressants every day, but still here he is, flush, sweating, and desperately reaching for Khalid. Elia grabs Khalid's mouth, exposing his canines. The only thought in his head is wanting to be bitten. He is completely out of it, and, he will be upset about this, but...
Yeah, how do heats work? Is it like a menstruation thing?
In this case, it's a cycle, but they actually... There's a cool scene, you'll have to look for it, because it's, it's
that's fine.
It's written, they draw it in between them having dialogue about other things, which... The paneling on this is smart, whatever. But they actually have, a special little, vial, a overly jeweled, encrusted vial or whatever, that he takes, his medicine out of. And so they make sure to give that to him every day. It's a regular thing for it to happen. Mm-hmm. He should not be having heat at all while he's taking this. Or it should be very, very minor. So for him to go full, my thoughts are smudging out. That's intense, yeah.
Is that a sign that his medicine isn't working, or that Khalid is starting to have, maturity himself?
They're not sure at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I'm trying to think as, the heat and ruts, as they're typically called, is, weird menstruation cycles.
Yeah.
But, everyone, again, plays them kind of differently, so I was wondering.
Yeah, in this case, it really is, he shouldn't be reacting like this. Because, also, Khalid, as far as we know, either doesn't have pheromones at this age, or is going to develop pheromones as he gets through puberty, kind of thing. So it's very weird, very early for this, and whatever. But Khalid calls out his name, and suddenly Elia is snapped out of his haze. He pushes Khalid away and yells for Suya.
Oh.
The other handmaids escort Khalid out as Suya tends to her charge. This is the last thing that Elia wanted Khalid to see. Because now he feels deeply embarrassed. He's like, and he refers to himself as, basically being nothing better than an animal.
Mm-hmm.
I was out of control, how dare I do this? So he feels terrible.
Yeah. One thing I like about ABOs is like heats and ruts can be kind of traumatic for young people.
Mm-hmm.
They're upset and burdened by it. And like I'm kind of glad that that burden is played up on because menstruation is such a big deal to girls.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure like boys who suffer like random erections, that's also a big deal.
Or just some of the other like emotional changes of going through puberty.
Yeah.
And your body starts doing weird shit. I knew guys that were really uncomfortable because, you know, their genitalia was suddenly changing. Some people's genitalia would rapidly grow and the rest of you still looks like a little boy. It's uncomfortable. You have to start wearing new underwear. And I've been a menstruator for a long time and I didn't enjoy any part of it, but it's not like boys are comfortable either when they're growing up. Your body just feels like dog shit during puberty.
Yeah, one of my draws to ABOs is I appreciate like how people seem to be upset by them, and then there's other comics where they're teaching people how to properly handle these things happening to them, because that's good too. Like if something is happening and changing to your body, it should be discussed. But like as someone who started their menstruation cycle at age 10 in elementary school, I was in 5th grade, it was very traumatic. I hadn't had to talk at all. No one thought it was going to happen that early for me. I remember going into the bathroom and I came out and I told my teacher that I was dying because I was bleeding. And like my poor teacher, of course, is shocked because I was the first one in the school to start too. I was the first one in the school to start at that age. And then I go to the nurse and the nurse is having to like give me a new pair of pants and walk me through what this is at least a little bit. Because no one wanted to tell me what menstruation was and not be my mom. And then, of course, I go home and my mom tells me about it. And she's so sorry. Because she's like, we didn't think this would be a problem until middle school. We weren't going to tell you till, you know, closer to middle school. But it was a very traumatic event. It was super scary. And so, I don't know, there's something comforting to me about ABOs. Of seeing, like, other people be kind of startled by what their bodies are doing.
Yeah.
And they're being comforted often for freaking out.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's nice. I was comforted, like, but I was still also, like, really scared. So there's something healing about seeing people being like, there's something happening to me, and then people are trying to help them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're trying to do something dramatic in ABOs, like, where they're, like, mocking them for it or something. But, like, a lot of stories show we are trying to help you.
Yeah, I agree that sometimes I do read Omegaverses because Omegas regularly get the medicine that they need distributed by the government, no questions asked, and that if you have a really bad heat cycle or like it's uncontrolled, they try to help you and like do research on you to get you better. And I'm sitting here like, yes, fascinating. I would like to get that same sort of help for my gynecological issues.
Yeah.
This is the future I want.
Yeah. Isn't that lovely about a fantasy? In a fantasy, you can get the care you need.
Yeah.
Not to be bitter, but guess what?
Shout out America. Well, 3 months pass, and Khalid hasn't returned to the rear palace since the incident. Elia cast aside the watch he was making, attempting to toss away his hurt and embarrassment along with it. There's a quote from him where he says, "Every time, my being an Omega finds some way to humiliate me."
Bless his heart.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him. This is very hard.
Yeah. Another 3 months pass, and still no Khalid. But one of his older brothers, Prince Zayn, has announced his intention to visit and congratulate the newly married couple. You know, almost a year after they got married, and despite not showing up for his own father's funeral. It's sus as shit.
Yeah. Because they weren't there for dead dad.
Yeah, because at this point, Khalid should be 11.
Okay.
Because,
It's almost been a year. It's been 6 months.
It's 6 months plus the time before they're spending with each other.
Yeah.
So it's been closer to probably like 9 months, if not more. And at this point, since they should be firmly past fall, Khalid is 11, Elia is 19, I think by now, or about to be 19 himself. And then, new Prince shows up like, I didn't need to see my dad on his deathbed. Whatever, deuces. Elia makes his suspicions known, but ultimately this has nothing to do with him, and Zayn has a reasonable alibi. He was off, learning in a different country. So theoretically, it was difficult for him to make it back. I don't believe that whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Actually meeting Zayn comes with a whole host of complications, though. Mainly, that'll be the first time that Elia and Khalid have seen each other in 6 months. Elia is dolled up and escorted to the throne room, taking in the sight of Khalid for the first time in so long. The two exchange a long glance, but nothing is said even as Elia takes a seat beside the king. And I do believe I have a picture of that. There's Elia being like, I always be humiliate, only tiger comfort me.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the first look that they share with each other in 6 months.
They just look sad.
Yeah.
I hope they work it out.
Yeah, Elia already looked like hurt.
He was already depressed
He
all
looked
the
hurt
time.
before. Now he looks sad and hurt.
Yeah.
The other complication, Zayn himself. When he enters and pays his respects, he lingers just a little too long describing Elia's beauty.
Gross.
And saying how even all the way in Natashu, they'd heard about how hot he was. That's freaking weird. Because he says it and they're like, oh, they've heard of your beauty. I was like, you were essentially saying, they said there was a hot bitch here, even in this other country, and I had to come see. Ew.
That's gross.
Even weirder, on their way back to the rear palace, Zayn calls out to Elia and his handmaidens, asking to have a little chat. The reason for this, he can't go into the harem, so they won't have the opportunity for much alone time. And it would just be so fascinating to finally talk to an Omega. He then proceeds to do that thing that racist or homophobic people do when they're just curious about your lifestyle, but manage to be as insulting as possible. Like, how come Omegas are so revered here when other countries make them slaves and find them disgusting?
Here.
With a few extra mentions to how hot they are. Gross. Gross.
Yeah, no, this person's uncomfortable. How old is Zayn?
Zayn, we don't get a full idea, but so...
Like 20s, 30s.
You know what? Ooh, no, Zayn is older than Elia, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because I believe Zayn has been a full-grown adult for a while. And so he's like college age. So he's older than Elia. Obviously a good, 10, 12 years older than Khalid. Mm-hmm. And there's another even older brother. And the two older brothers grew up together. And the older brother has, like, a wife and kids at this point. Mm-hmm. So, Zayn could very easily be, like, 25 or something like that.
Also, can I tell you what Zayn makes me think of? He makes me think of that kid who leaves a well-educated, a well-balanced family who then goes to, I don't know, Florida to learn how to be a racist.
You are not far off.
Like, I've just heard of this shit before. Like, you hear about a family who, like, everyone's nice, no one's xenophobic, no one's racist, no one's, like, too political or too religious, and then one of their kids goes off specifically to some state to learn something and be like, well, I heard you're a dirt person. Like, we treat you like this over here. How come I have to treat you like this here? Like, that shit is insane.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it. Like,
yeah,
we're in the South. You see some shit out here.
Yeah.
But, like, just, you'll meet people who, like, it's like, dude, I know your family. Y'all are the chillest folks. What did you learn in that school you went to?
Yep.
And, like, it sounds, like, really weird when I put it that way, but it's like certain people leave their homes just because they want a taste of all the stuff that they were told was bad, and then they want to perpetuate it.
Yeah. Because usually it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes
somebody who's conservative or sheltered goes off and learns about the world and meets people and they feel better about people. Mm-hmm. And other people go off and they're like, it's time to say a slur.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'd love to know the psychology behind both.
I will also emphasize that this is like an inappropriate conversation to be having. Not just for what's being said, but like stopping the consort on their way is like not super kosher either.
All the rules in royal society says don't do this.
Yeah, like the rules are definitely being stomped on right now.
Like, because if you're thinking about like any culture, there's customs to how you deal with a queen or a married host or whoever. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't do this without special permission.
Yeah.
And like, you always read in books, comics, you always see that some cunt is like, well, I'm gonna break tradition. And dog, it just makes you look bad. Mm-hmm. Like, you are breaking the rules and no one thinks you're cool for it. Yep. And you look gross.
Yep. Suya and the other handmaidens are silent, but looking increasingly angry. Like, they're not allowed to say anything, but they are very obviously mad.
Hey, dog, Suya gets a knife later. Look out.
Exactly. Ilya, however, is used to this kind of bullshit. So since Zane is so goddamn curious, Ilya slides a little leggy out of his robes, offering him a direct look. Like, hey, you're this curious? You want to look close? Is that what you want? Zane is stunned into silence, and Ilya smiles tightly and apologizes for taking the joke too far. He then reiterates that it will be difficult for the two of them to meet alone and resumes a journey back to his chambers. Like, you're right. It will be hard to meet with me at any time, won't it? Bye, bitch.
Jesus.
Don't call for me.
I like how Ilya's like, yeah, look at my leg.
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah,
exactly.
Thanks.
The handmaidens who have talked shit about Ilya in the past are now the angriest they've ever been and ready to push Prince Zane into the ocean.
Like,
which is great, honestly.
The handmaidens are like, I don't like Ilya. Are now like, girl, we'll take her earrings off for you.
Well, they said, like, I don't like Ilya. Oh, it was fucked up how, like, he went into his heat and isn't that weird and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, they talked about that, too.
They talked about, too, like, oh, well, that was really upsetting and he's not in the, the king's not returning from blah, blah, blah. And then now they're just like, wait a second. Not our bitch. How dare you? That was so inappropriate.
Pick a side, girls.
I know. Ilya's none too pleased either. Khalid and Zane are like worlds apart from each other. And with an attitude like that, it's no wonder that Zane was shipped off to study abroad.
Yeah. Someone wanted to, instill in you like a human heart.
Mm-hmm. Suya politely listens to his rants, because honestly, she agrees too. And she responds when Ilya asks how on earth Khalid became king with two much older brothers. Well, the oldest wanted to renounce his royal status and be with the one he loved, and his father graciously allowed him to do so. As for Zane, it seems he wanted to more seriously pursue an education. But more importantly, it was obvious from the time that he was born that Khalid was just the right fit. The oldest brother says a little bit later that he's like, when I saw my youngest brother be born, I knew then I am not meant to be. Because he was being, groomed to become king at some point. He kind of assumed it was going to be him. He knew that for, his whole, 10 to 12 years of his life. And then he's suddenly like, oh, no, it's going to be this baby. It shouldn't be me. I gotta go. This isn't for me.
Did he resemble the god or something? Is that, part of what it's about?
They don't really go into too much detail about, how that is, but everyone just has this feeling that Khalid is the right choice. And as he kept growing, they're like, no, he is the right choice. We have to pick him. So later that night, Ilya is awoken by a knock on his window. He sidesteps Thalj, who is in a tizzy over the noise, just walking back and forth in front of the window, and pulls the curtain aside, revealing Khalid. Khalid apologizes for waking Ilya and for coming by unofficially. But it takes too long to meet under normal circumstances. There's all that, hey, I have to announce I'm going to go see my consort, and we're going to come up with blah, blah, and the consort has to get dressed up. So he just wasn't in the mood for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's something he wants to tell Ilya, so he asks him to follow him out of the palace. It's giving a little bit of Aladdin, come with me.
Yeah.
I want to show you something, and reach his hand out.
That's cute.
This is the point where I know Khalid's going to have Riz, because if Ilya was 11, he'd be all over this.
If Ilya was also 11, he's like, I've been swayed.
Exactly.
That's so cute.
It is really cute, but I'm proud of him. This is a little picture hey, come with me.
Look at him. He's so cute. It's adorable.
He's trying to be his big little mature self. It's very cute. They travel for a bit until Khalid tells him that they can stop, and then he lays out a blanket that he'd been carrying, which I also think is suave as shit. He had the blanket wrapped around him like a piece of cloth, and then he's like, no, I got it. Here's the blanket we're going to lay here. They both sit at the top of a hill under the cover of 1,000,000 stars. Now that they're alone, Ilya can finally address the elephant in the room, which he of course thinks is his own fault. He thought Khalid would never return since Ilya had been so disgusting in that moment. He'd been nothing more than an animal, a beast, and certainly Khalid had begun to look down on him.
Mm-hmm.
So not just why didn't you show up? I know why you didn't show up, because I was gross, right?
Yeah.
Khalid shouts that was never the case, grasping Ilya's hands in his own. He could never look down on Ilya. His lack of visits was due to royal bullshit, and most likely his own insecurities, but he doesn't hate Ilya. Because I would think, if this happened to me and I'm Khalid, I'm I'm not ready to be a big adult. I have to work on being an adult more. because I couldn't help in that situation. I'm frightened, not for myself, but for, this person that I like and that I care about. As he affirms his not hate, the sun begins to rise. Its brilliant light cascading over the city below them, causing the buildings to glitter like jewels. This is what Khalid wanted Elia to see. Elia looks on in awe as Khalid explains his connection to this place. He comes here because he can behold his kingdom in panorama, and it reminds him how much he loves it. He wants to protect Hanu and all of its people. And he needs Elia at his side as his consort to protect Hanu with him. He can't do it with anyone else. Elia attempts to deflect, since Khalid could have anyone. Someone more beautiful, someone more capable, someone smarter. Nah, dude. To Khalid, there is no one more wise, more capable, more beautiful, all the way down to his soul, than Elia. He continues with his impassioned speech, blushing from intensity and adoration, telling Elia that he may be young and inexperienced, but he vows to become a partner and a king that can match Elia's shine.
Aww.
Well, damn. There's nothing more Elia can do. Khalid has successfully worn down his defenses, and in the brilliant daylight, Elia truly smiles for the first time since arriving in Hanu. He vows to stay by Khalid's side, if that's what he wants, and places a kiss on his forehead, effectively sealing the deal. So it's a very sweet moment. I think I have a good chunk of it. Yeah, come with me, and then the city lining up.
Yeah, but this is like what I'm talking about. This little boy is very elegant.
Yes.
He was raised to be a royal,
Mm-hmm.
to be a leader.
Yeah.
Like, it's very elegant. It's shocking that it's coming from a child.
He's both like too mature, but also too inexperienced at the same time. And he's realizing this at this point. Like, I know a lot, but I don't know enough, and I have to do something about it. And then he's a little earnest, like, I want you to be like with me and that sort of thing. I appreciate who you are. And then this is Elia's big smile.
It's really nice to see him actually smile and look happy for real.
Mm-hmm. And so good things happening. Love this. And this came at the right time because Khalid also told him, like, hey, you're not going to see me for a while because I'm going to start doing more or whatever. I need to do more for my kingdom, learn more, that sort of thing. So this is his way of, like, kind of giving a send-off, like, hey, I'll see you in a little bit, but I gotta go. So with that, Khalid is shipped off for a month to travel and delve deeper into his responsibilities as a king, carrying with him the watch that Elia made as a memento, because Elia's just like, Suya, get rid of this watch. And Suya's like, no.
Yeah, love Suya.
I gave it to him, whatever. Before departure, Elia was bequeathed a holy dagger with which to protect himself, but also something to remind him of their bond. So it's this giant, like, glittery ass dagger, and Khalid's like, yeah, it's a holy instrument, and blah, 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 and I have the permission to, like, give it to you. It's gonna bless you from God and all this stuff, and so here's this. So, everything's going okay. Khalid and Elia have proven their commitment. The palace is peaceful. Valj is growing. There's not a thing that could go wrong. Except for the announcement of Khalid's death and Zayn's ascension to the throne. That is how...
Get out of my house. We had this beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Get out of my house. What are you telling me?
That's what happens. That's what... I promise you, that's the end of that chapter. And then they're just like, yeah, he's dead. What are you going to do about it? I'm like, oh, okay. We were having a good time. He's only gone for a month and now he's murdered?
Get out of my house. Go. Be gone, you wench.
So obvious spoiler, since Khalid and Elia are all over the covers for both comics, you know Khalid's not dead. And specifically, adult Khalid is all over the covers for these comics. So we know Khalid's not dead. We know something else is going to happen. But it's still a gut punch to suddenly be told, oh, by the way, he's dead.
Because he's a cute little boy.
And now
you're like, did you just kill his baby?
Right. Look, you killed an 11-year-old. What the fuck's wrong with you? And then, of course, you knew Zayn was sus as fuck, and now you for sure know that he's sus as fuck. This is also the part where it really starts kicking off the, like, political, social, like, issues. The kingdom has issues, and they're having to deal with that. And that's really where we get to see Elia shine and really take on the, like, mother mantle, especially for the kingdom. I also have to say, Elia is so fucking rad through a lot of the rest of this comic. Like, I already think he's an interesting, cool character. But he pulls out all the stops.
Yeah.
As things continue. Like, he jumps off a cliff at one point. And
Damn,
I'm like,
boy.
Girl, yes. Okay.
I imagine if Zayn has ascended the throne, then Elia has probably had to jump off and escape the castle.
Like, there's already...
Otherwise, Zayn's going to be creepy.
Well, because I think, if I remember correctly, he says, oh yeah, Khalid's dead. Like, but with grand fanfare, like, by the way, he's dead. And he doesn't seem that upset about it. He's like, I'm now king. And then he goes up to Elia and is like, by the way, you know what that means. And Elia's like, I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
We're in mourning now, aren't we? Well, but you're going to be my concubine now. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to do mourning for at least 3 months. So what do you mean I'm your concubine? You can't ascend the throne until after the 3-month period of mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So who do I belong to? A dead man. Get out.
Okay, so I can already tell you're like, no, we're about to get into characters. And I have so many fucking questions, so I'm just going to cut myself off here. Because, dear God, I just stop recording so you'll answer my questions.
Some more of this will be answered as I continue to go, actually, because
okay.
I do want you to know I'm telling Keels this because it is something that she could read with knowing her triggers, and specifically because it does not contain some of your shit that she's not comfortable with. But let's jump into these characters. So of course we have Elia, our blonde-haired, gray-eyed Omega, and the main character. He is cynical to a fault, but he's got his reasons. Underneath his spiky exterior is a man with a strong spirit, endless empathy, and a desire to prevent others from facing the abuses he's experienced. His family is a fucking shit show, and it's a wonder he isn't more self-deprecating or depressed. He's quick-witted and sarcastic, which regularly proves to be useful in getting him out of situations. Really, he just serves a lot of cunt.
I mean, the fact that he's like, I'm in mourning, you can't touch me, like...
Yeah.
That's cunty.
Yeah. He knows how to be cunty in the very, like, stately royal way, but he also just knows how to be a regular cunt and play dirty, which is great. He comes to love Khalid, and he wants to protect him in his own way. Khalid is the recently ascended king of Hanu. He's still a kid for a time and wildly inexperienced, but he makes up for it with a level head, compassion, and a steadfastness more common to people twice his age. He's incredibly charming, and his naivety only makes him more so. He is serious about taking care of Hanu and fights tooth and nail to do so. He's absolutely smitten with Elia on sight and wants to wife him so bad from really early on. Because he does explain later, he's like, I was captivated by you the first time I saw you. So him freezing wide-eyed and not saying anything. Yeah, their first meeting, that really was him being like, that's the most beautiful person I've ever seen. What does that mean?
And I get to wife them.
Yeah, but it was also like, what does that mean for me? Yeah. Suya is the chief handmaid of the consort and is my absolute favorite side character. She's a true ride or die and has fully dedicated her life to Elia. She is kind and extremely patient and truly wants to help Elia heal from the trauma that he faced. She is well-trained and knowledgeable about court life to the point that she knows how to tell someone to fuck off in a polite way. So she herself steps out of line a couple times to try and defend Elia, knowing she could just get fired and beheaded. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like major, but if you know kind of about like court life and inner workings, she actually puts her life on the line to protect Elia, and then she does physically put her life on the line later to protect him. She is such a good person. She's also not afraid to tell a bitch the truth, which she does regularly, and then obviously like sneaks behind Elia's back when she knows she needs to and stuff like that. She is truly just the friend and confidant that anyone could dream of, and I love her, and I'm so glad that in the sequel to this book they give her a knife. She deserves to have a knife.
Yeah, give her a knife.
Good for her.
Also appreciate like that she's just like, oh, I'm gonna take care of this little boy now. Done stuff with my master now. Mm-hmm. Like a loyal servant. Those are awesome. Like in royalty stories. And she like, not to say that she's like, she supports Elia and stuff like that, but Elia also really appreciates her over time. Yeah. And they have such a good relationship. And she gets her flowers, too. Like, she gets the respect that she deserves consistently. Mm-hmm. So, it's a whole thing. Yeah. Then we have Zayn, the middle prince. Boo. He's arrogant and, honest to God, very, very stupid. He essentially went off to college and got red-pilled, and now he thinks he's the smartest person in the room, and that Omegas suck. The sea is waiting to swallow him up. Hey, he was red-pilled. Legitimately. I called it.
It's exactly that.
But, like, I mean, it's freaky seeing it in real life. Like, where someone goes off to something and it changes them in the worst way.
Yeah.
Gosh.
What I also think is really interesting is that because of Khalid becoming the king, the kanji that they use to describe middle prince is actually the kanji for little brother and prince. And so Zayn is actually being referred to as, like, lower than his youngest brother. So that can kind of help explain some of the, like, vitriol he has. But it's also, like, it's not that deep, dude. You still get to be a royal and rich and do whatever the fuck you want. Is this that important to you? You know what I mean? Because he never wanted to be king before. But now that he gets to be little prince instead of, you know, big boy, he's, like, hurt by it.
He's mad that he's just now a prince instead of a king.
Like, he never wanted to be king, but he doesn't want a child to be a king over him. But it's also like, you get to just fuck off for the rest of your life and study or do whatever you want. If somebody told me, you can just fuck off and do college courses forever and never have to worry about money, sign me the fuck up.
Can I just say, no one wants to be Prince William. They want to be Prince Harry.
For real.
They don't want the responsibility that comes with being the crown prince, the crown royal. No one wants that. Everyone just wants the rich aspect part where it's like, cool, I get to be, like, the one without the future of having to take care
I want to be second to 10th in line, okay?
Yes.
That's the sweet spot, where people kind of give a damn about me, but not enough to where I can't go fuck off. He's an idiot, moron, whatever.
God dang.
So the other person I wanted to introduce you to, who he plays a major role, so I do want to go ahead and get him out of the way, is Cheng. He is the 10th prince of Natashiu, and he is Zayn's friend, with heavy quotation. He and Zayn are friends.
Boy,
sure.
Zayn, did you get red pilled by another country that tried to set you up? Is that what happened?
He has one specific goal he's trying to achieve, and Zayn can be easily manipulated to help him do that.
Boy, I called it.
He's conniving and self-interested, but is quite intelligent. On the scale of Suya to Zayn, I'd say he's right in the middle, because he's not a good person or really a bad person. He's just a guy with a goal. So he does shitty stuff, but it has nothing to do with anybody. He just needs to get his shit done.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means, since he just needs to get his shit done, whoever can help him do that, he's gonna side with. And also, he does make comments, like, about Omegas, but even he's like, damn, Zayn's going too far.
Jesus.
So, like, so this is where you kind of get the idea that, like, Hanu obviously reveres Omega, where Elia's from, they obviously hate Omegas, and then Natashu seems to have a more mixed bag. Like, some people are like, oh, ew, Omegas. Other people are like, yeah, they're just people. And so it's not this consistent, Omegas are always the worst. You're just used to living in a place where they hate them for some reason. It's different everywhere. And it's like they still have some trafficking issues across the world, but more because people are bad people, not because, you know, it's an Omega thing. It's like, no, people just get trafficked, that sort of thing. Whatever. But yeah, so those are the main characters you deal with. There are other characters that pop up, but are just kind of side characters or whatever. Like, of course, you meet the oldest brother and stuff, and to meet his wife and his kids, but these are the main ones we're going to be focusing on. So now, let's get into why I love this comic. First of all, we love historical fantasy in this house.
We really do. I can't shut up about history and comics. Like, I love it. I really, really, really love it.
Again, once a week, I gorge myself on Taco Bell and watch Apothecary Diaries, and it's the best 30 minutes of my week right now, because I'm obsessed with learning about Chinese history via this autistic little girl.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Whether it's an alternate universe, France, or a country made up of a mixed mash of others, we are down for it. But the setting is well established and visually believable. This seems minor, but we've both read plenty of stories that contradict themselves in the middle of establishing their lore, or present societies that would easily collapse if they were actually doing, you know, those things in the comic. Hanu is presented as a successful country, and while a majority of the things that prove it are just events happening in the background, it's still refreshing to see. Because no one wants to get distracted by a one-off comment about the setting that's conveniently forgotten so the main characters can win the day. Because I know you've ranted at me before that you're like, well, they established this, and then randomly they just give up that established point and say, well, now the main characters can win. And you're like, no. Where did the role go? And I agree.
Like, I if you're going to come up with a cool historical reason why something can't happen and it's going to impede your heroes, do not then magic it away for no good reason. Like, at least give the petty reason of the king just arbitrarily changed the rule, because that shit does happen.
Kings did do that a lot.
Kings did do that. They arbitrarily changed a rule that, like, really changed the course of history for them.
Yeah.
Put that in your fucking comic.
Like,
that can be the reason the rule disappears. Don't just magic it away for no reason.
Like, we have Protestantism because Henry VIII wanted to get a fucking divorce, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you can snowball to that extent off of something stupid. Just commit to that. These are the sorts of details that I really appreciate to keep the story together. And I also like the details about the setting are directly relevant to the progression of the story. This is about a consort and his king, so the struggles of the country should be relevant. Even the law about no one fucking under 18 is relevant for obvious reasons, because it's letting you know that you're not in Shota territory, but it's also building a case for Hanu being a nation that cares about the health and well-being of its citizens, and that they're progressive and thinking about how to keep people in the best state possible, which in turn makes Elia more comfortable living there, giving him an avenue to work through his own societal traumas. It's these details that also set you up to be really fucking angry when things go to shit later, because you care about how happy and prosperous and well cared for Hanu was before a certain prince takes the throne.
Zane.
Yeah.
Your name rhymes with pain.
The Omegaverse world building is good too. Things for Omegas are obviously bleak in Ilia's home country, and that's not a new trope to ABO, but Hanu being the exact opposite and revering Omegas to an almost deity-like status is an interesting choice, and isn't something I've really seen before. Because a lot of the ABOs I see, Omegas are like regular people, or they're having issues, or people hate them and have a prejudice. So this is one of the first ones I've read where it's like, oh no, we revere them as gods because any primary gendered person can have, a child regardless. And there's these special things that they're able to do and affect other people. So they see them as powerful and interesting and like holy. So too, it helps detach secondary gender from inherent traits and instead centers individual ability and personal choice. People can be totally normal about Omegas. They're either choosing not to or have been specifically told not to. There's nothing intrinsic about treating Omegas like garbage, and Hanu does an excellent job of proving that. It's giving, we live in a society. And I like that. Because it even mentions that there may be other Omegas who are not in like the Holy Order or haven't been picked up, that are just living their lives, and that's not their business. So like Zane makes a comment about I haven't seen any Omegas before, they're always like whisked away, and it's like, you probably have been an Omega, actually. But they're doing normal shit. Because this country hands out medication for heat suppression like candy, dude.
Yeah, so they are fixing a problem rather than hiding it,
Yeah, and he thinks like, well, I must know everything about it. It's like, I'll push you into traffic. I'll create traffic in this universe to push you into it. The way ABO Junk is handled is a great vehicle for growth for Elia as well. He's a product of a culture that reviles him and has made him into a suspicious, cynical, depressed, and resilient person. Getting the piss kicked out of you emotionally and sometimes physically every day will do that to you. But the constant positive reinforcement from the people of Hanu helps to heal his heart and introduces him to the concept of self-worth. He is revered based on his secondary gender, but also gains the respect of those around him through his actions.
It's kind of funny because he did get declared the mother of Hanu by the king, right? Mm-hmm. But weirdly, it kind of feels like how he feels about it and how I'm hearing it described. It makes me feel like he's the stepmother who stepped up,
Yeah.
Like his own kingdom kicked him out and they're like, we don't want you, Mom. And then he went to this other kingdom and raised these other kids.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Like, I don't know,
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Elia is given the opportunity to be truly loved and appreciated for just being who he is, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Because he does eventually meet with some of the Hanu nationals and stuff like that, the citizens, and they, again, are like, we're being blessed by being able to see you, and we know that you're capable of all these good things. And so it's still kind of doing the whole, like, we just believe you're good because of Omega, but it's such a different thing, and then he is able to prove that he is a good person in addition to that, and they accept that as well, so that's super good. Elia and Khalid have all this love they're given, that they reciprocate, and good strong moral foundations and all that, but there's also plenty of emphasis on them making good choices. Elia could absolutely hate everyone forever, and you'd get it. but he chooses compassion. Khalid is just a kid with a ton of responsibility. Like, being made the king is a shitty situation when you are any age, but especially when you're a baby. He could easily fuck it up, and it would be no fault of his own. But he's careful and considerate and listens to people when they suggest things to him, which is a nice foil to his dumbass brother. He's a good example of someone who has everything and still desires more, even at the expense of literally every other person on the planet. And rather than point out that Zayn's inherently evil or corrupted in some way, they present his action as choices. He chose to shed his country's beliefs. He chose to do a hit. He chose to nearly drive his country into a civil war. That's all shit that he felt like was a good idea to do so that he could get his. And Chang is there to help establish that as well. As I said, Chang is pretty neutral in the grand scheme of this story, but the choices he makes helps establish that Zayn is just a self-important dumbass. Hell, let's remember that Ilya was immediately suspicious of Zayn before even meeting him, because he truly believed he couldn't get caught trifling by a mere Omega and a child. Just piss poor choices all around.
Zayn's so stupid.
Yeah.
And then he gets used and manipulated, of course.
He's being used and manipulated the whole time, so we're clear.
Oh, no shit.
He's never not being used.
It's...
he deserves it.
Red-pilled, man.
I mean, truthfully. And also, Ilya's mother. For the obvious reason of technically being mother to a whole country, but also because he maintains his dignity at all times. Even in the face of oppression, or in fighting his own demons, he still holds his head high. He will put other safety before his own, and not so much in a trying to martyr himself kind of way, but looking for ways to ensure everyone's safety. He's also ready to stab at any moment, for himself, for a stranger, just to make a point. He does try to use that dagger multiple times.
Damn.
But he's ready. He's
got a knife. Use it.
Yeah. It's a holy knife given to him as a gift from his husband. He should use it. That's what it's there for. The romance in this is also very cute. Because of the age gap, it's very much based on mutual affection, and the whole dead Khalid thing deepens the feelings between the two. Because the apparent distance between them strengthens their convictions to the point that they are honoring one another by pushing forward each day. So with Khalid being dead, that kind of sends Elin to this point of like, I need to create the Hanu that he wanted. I need to honor, his memory.
So they are working apart for a long time. He believes Khalid's dead for a while then,
yes,
right?
Yeah. He believes Khalid's dead for a long time. And
yeah.
So he's like, I have to push forward and do what I can for this country that he loves so much. I have to honor his memory. And it also kind of increases his affection for Khalid because it kind of builds him up in his mind and he misses him and stuff like that. So like they both believe that they're fulfilling promises to one another, living entirely in the memory of one another. So when they finally reunite, it's love and relief and longing and joy all splitting forth at the same time. And there's also this sense of Khalid kind of healing Ilya's inner child, which also unifies them and really captures the idea that abuse and neglect can stunt your ability to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a little scene where Ilya has a dream and he's remembering how poorly he was treated, like back when he was growing up and stuff like that. And then like a little baby Khalid takes his little baby self's hand, and that's when you get like, oh yeah, like Ilya is still a kid in a lot of ways.
Yeah, he was
never,
a crushed flower. He didn't get a chance to grow.
Yeah, he never got to grow up in a normal way, so he's just kind of piecing himself together. So
yeah,
that's what also I think makes their relationship very sweet. Is they're starting at similar points in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the art is gorgeous, and I'm not saying this lightly. It is legitimately fucking incredible and highly, highly detailed. Like, the covers always look good, but every single panel is a treat for the eyes. They're really well laid out. You get this what's going on in the story. You get all these little details about background information. And the choice to go this hard in the paint with details really just helps add an ethereal quality to the whole thing. And it keeps you glued, even when bad things are happening. Just, like, murder.
Oh, okay.
So, murder and poverty.
Yeah.
I also have to hand it to Tsuyuhisa and Fumi for writing an ABO that is so fucking interesting without the second gender stuff. Like, I care so much about the political drama, the personal growth, and the goddamn tiger that the Omega stuff sneaks up on me sometimes. Like, I'll forget about it and then be like, oh, that's right, I'm reading an ABO.
I feel like I ask that about stories so much. Like, just give me a story where, like, there's so much cool shit happening. Oh, but there's also Old Man Yowie, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. I love Old Man Yowie with stuff going on.
Right.
Yeah, but this is one of those stories that it's just so engaging that even if you didn't have the ABO, you'd be in it. But so you get like the ABO is like whipped topping and chocolate syrup on your favorite ice cream.
Yeah.
You just it's it's just good and then gooder.
Hell yeah.
Palace of the Omega is a story that is ultimately about learning to give yourself a chance, even when the world tells you not to. It sees assigned worth as something that can be shirked through actions and the strength of one's resolve. It says that love is a journey and a thing that multiplies exponentially when given freely. And most importantly, it establishes that sometimes the only way to solve your mental health issues is to get the fuck out and go.
All right.
So, if you want to take a gorgeous, engaging, and emotionally fulfilling trip through fake history, Palace of the Omega is for you. It contains sexism, mentions of child abuse, violence, attempted assault, attempted murder, an almost war, an age gap, suicidal ideation, and a little bit of political sabotage. No rape, not even a little bit. Someone gets knifed before the attempted assault can go anywhere, I promise.
Nice.
It is, if that's like something that bothers you, it's not going to be in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, my darling, what is your whole rating for this one?
I feel like we're just having a good banger time because last week was great. This week's great too. I would give this a 10 out of 10. And again, this falls in that weird category where, like, I don't quite know if it's whole because I, at this point, don't know if there's, like, a romantic conclusion where, like, they do it and you're like,
yes.
Yeah, they do it. Yes. Oh, so they do.
There are some comics I read and two characters finally do it and I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
I am hard as a rock.
But I will say, this still gets a strong 10 out of 10 in both categories. Like, in that weird, like, I don't know if this counts as whole category and in whole category because it doesn't need the sex. The emotional romantic buildup between them, the things they go through, the emotional connection and, like, the growth, it's strong enough to where I'm like, I don't care if they have sex. I don't care if you show me just a polite little hand touch. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's truthfully what I personally want from a story is I want, like, the emotional buildup to be so good that I've come already. Like, I want to feel so moved that I've already had an orgasm. I don't need the sex.
We're several cigarettes in.
Right? So, for me, this is a 10 out of 10. I'm very excited about it. I will be checking it out.
Which is very easy to do right now because you can find book 1 of Palace of the Omega at your local bookstore. It's out right now, and the second and final volume is scheduled to be released on May 13th. So if you're listening to this, you can go pick it up in a couple of days.
Nice.
Or, of course, ask your local library and get them to order it because they do have porn of the library. You can do that. Make it so that someone else, that you can pay this forward and someone else can read this as well. If you want more from Tsuyu Hisafumi, you can find them on Twitter or Bluesky at Tsuyu Hisafumi. That is TSUYUHISAFUMI. They have a mess of other works, including Undead, which is being released by Fudakiya Inker and in print. Matsuyoi no Oni, that is a Japanese name. I do not know what the English translation is going to be for that, but that's coming out in print in October of this year. Mm-hmm. Erogami-sama no Ero Musubi, which is making me laugh because it's basically saying, like, sex god.
Okay.
That's coming out in print in October of this year as well, and these are all going to be in English. I have a feeling they'll be releasing a lot more from these two, moving into 2026 as well, because they have several other titles that seem to be very, very popular and equally gorgeous to look at. You want more Hole? We're on Tumblr and Bluesky at Hole-Chat, where our DMs are open and replies are encouraged. If you want to give our email a little kiss, it's hole.chat.69@gmail.com. And wherever you're listening, giving us a like or a follow would be fucking awesome. That's all we got for now. Thanks for listening, and tighten up.
Tighten up.